He is first-year Temple offensive coordinator Tyler Walker. I am John Brice of FootballScoop.com, and this is the Our Coaching Network podcast. Coach, you're in the middle of spring camp. Actually, not quite the middle. You're a week into spring camp. You're carving out a few minutes with us on a Sunday afternoon. You've had quite the eventful year. So, Tyler, thanks for taking some time out to visit with us.
Oh, I appreciate being on and chatting with you.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited to learn more about your journey. And we already discovered before we hit the record button that you grew up in the same suburb area of Cincinnati as my dad, Hamilton, Ohio. So now you've gone from the Cincinnati suburbs out to Big Sky Country in Bozeman, Montana, and now you're in the bustling big city of Philadelphia. When you hear it like that, what's running through your mind?
It's it's all went very fast, very fast. A lot of people help you get to point A to point B, and a lot of good times, and you just keep going. You just never know. Sitting here 10 years ago, if you would have said, "Hey, I'd have been sitting in an office on 10th and Diamond, working at Temple," I'd have been like, "You're nuts." But it happens fast, and a lot of good people in between.
You speaking of happening fast, you had 1 year as the full offensive coordinator at Montana State. You guys did some phenomenal things, advanced all the way to the FCS championship game. Then in January, you get hired as the new offensive coordinator at the FBS level. Can you take us through that process, that transition, kind of how it unfolded with you guys?
Yeah, well, that was my fourth year at Montana State. Obviously, I went there the first year Coach Vegan was there. I was there, had worked with Taylor House right at Miami, so I went with him there, and we had a great 3 years, and then I was able to become the offensive coordinator this past year. So a lot of good football players, a lot of support there, and we were fortunate to win some football games. And I would say it was probably towards the start of the playoffs. Some things that started to come up. Naturally you have good players and you've been successful. A lot of people start calling. And to be honest, I just really didn't want anything to do with it. I know we only have so many shots to get to Frisco, and I was doing whatever we could to keep the main thing that. But then it starts going a little closer, and so I had knew that Temple was an option really for the last two games, the semi game, and then obviously we had decided that we were going to come here before the national title game. So it was a lot. It was a lot. Obviously we didn't get it done there in Frisco. I still think about it quite often. But it all happened fast, and I cherish those days in Bozeman for sure.
You wouldn't be a top young coach on the rise if you still weren't upset about what happened there that January day in Frisco. So now, as you're going through this process, what did you know about KC before it started? What did you maybe very quickly picked up that made you say, "Okay, yeah, I'm going to keep talking to him because this is a job I would like to pursue. This is a coach I would like to align myself with."
Well, our first interaction, I've brought it up to him before, was 2021. We went down to Huntsville and took care of business with them. So when they were the number one seed, so I'm 1-0 against him. Now he's won a lot of football games. So no, I knew who he was. There was mutual people that I had worked with that had worked with him and knew him on a both a personal and professional level. And then you just look at his track record. He's between Division III, Division II, FCS, FBS. He's turned a lot of football programs around. He's developed a culture. He's won a lot of football games. He's coaching a lot of national championship games. And then without being from not this area, the Montana. Well, when you're in Montana, everything over here on the East Coast is kind of close, as I say. But being from Ohio, it was closer to home. It was closer to my family. It was closer to my wife's family. It was a 6-hour drive instead of a 26-hour drive. So that played a huge factor. And then just the track record of Temple University. You start going back and look at who has coached here and who's developed players here, and you look at the Al Goldens and the Matt Rules and College Game Day and beating Penn State. And there's been a lot of good football players here, and having talked to coach and feeling confident in what he can do, and then the resources that Temple's going to provide us to get what we need to get done. It felt like a good move, and we're excited. Everything's been great so far.
He is first-year Temple offensive coordinator Tyler Walker. I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com here again on the Our Coaching Network podcast. You just sort of led me right in to my next question, so I appreciate that assist. And that is, you are a week into spring camp. You're a first-year staff as a whole, and you're a first-year offensive coordinator there at Temple, making the transition from the SCS to the FBS level. So, what are some of the foundational elements for spring that are absolute musts, that are non-negotiables, that you want to get accomplished and see realized over the course of this 15 practice spring camp?
Well, I think the first thing is we're out there running around with these guys and seeing them move for the first time, and they're seeing us coach for the first time, and we're running a practice and just everything that you're doing for a first time. And so what I naturally did was, I went to the 2021 binder and I looked. What was the first time we put this offense in at Montana State? What did it look like? That defense was really good. Our defense has a lot of good players out there. So as an offense, the thing that I want to do after 15 practice, I want our players to be able to say, we have developed our identity. We've gained confidence in our identity and what we're doing here on offense. We've put our guys in good situations to be accountable and successful. And the main thing is we find out who the guys we can count on, who is going to be on the bus, what seats they're going to be on the bus, and then college football being what it is, what holes do we need to fix? What's going to lead us into the portal? What do we need and what don't we need? And then on the coaching side of it, I think we got to do whatever we can to put our players in a good situation to be successful. We have to find out, is it sound what we're teaching? Can we teach it? Can they comprehend it? Can we run it? And we're all working together too for the first time. So I think a lot of development, trust, culture, offensive scheme, but at the same time, yes, I want to look really, really good on offense, but we know we're playing the long game here. We're not trying to look like the 2024 Bobcats in 3 weeks. That's just not going to happen. That first week was great. Everything we've thrown at the kids has been awesome. So there are a lot of eager dudes out there ready to get rolling. So we're excited to get back out there.
You just referenced again something, Tyler, that I want to ask about, and that is you had maybe right around 8 weeks from the time you were hired to the time you guys opened spring camp on Tuesday, March 11th. And you referenced that it's a coaching staff working and coaching together as a whole for the first time. So in those 8 weeks, what did you guys do as a staff to sort of start to know each other and to learn how each other operates? And then specifically as the offensive coordinator, what did you do with your offensive staff during that time?
Well, I think as a staff as a whole, Coach Keeler does a great job of making sure that we're all on the same page. He does a great job of developing cultures, both that's the coaching staff included. So he wanted to make sure, set the expectations for what we're trying to do here at Temple. What are our team values? What's the staff values? How we're going to operate. He leans on the coordinators a lot. So, Coach Smith, the defense coordinator here, we talk every day, what the objectives we're trying to get at, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to get out of these 15 practices. So he's been able to define the expectations, provide us resources to meet those expectations, and then let us go. And then he's there as a helping hand. I mean, the guy's won 277 plus college football games. I'm going to go down there and ask him questions. So, as a whole staff, and then as an offensive staff, I think as being the offensive coordinator, I want to do whatever I can. It's about those guys. I want to make sure that I am listening and taking thoughts. And just because we did it at Montana State doesn't mean that we're going to do it here everything. So listening, being there for those guys, letting them know kind of how, who I am, what's important to me, what's important to them, how do they see. A lot of collaboration, for the first, trying to get on the same page. And I will say, it's been good. We had 4 winter run-throughs. We've had meetings. We've had installs. It's been good. Those guys we have a good staff, a good young staff, eager to learn, eager to develop, great mentors, leaders, and coaches. So we're excited.
That's some really good insight there. I appreciate kind of learning what all goes into trying to coalesce as a staff. We hear so much about culture as players and how coaches try to set the culture for their players. But when it's a first year, brand new program of coaches working together, I think that's fascinating insight. So I appreciate you kind of peeling the curtain back a little bit for us there. Your journey has been an interesting one. I want to talk about it. You've coached at the high school level on your climb. You're a Miami of Ohio grad. But 5 years ago, you were an NCAA Division III defensive coordinator. I already see you smiling as I'm winding my way into this question. How do you explain the journey from 5 years ago being a non-scholarship Division III defensive coordinator to now being an FBS offensive coordinator in a major metro area in the United States, Tyler?
Well, I think a lot of help. I mean, a lot of help both on and off the field. Different leaders and mentors that I've worked with. It all started. I was coaching high school football at Hamilton for Jim Place and Bob Jacoby and Chad Murphy and those guys, and I wanted to coach college football. And I finally kept knocking on doors, Coach Martin, and Chuck Martin said, "Yeah, sure, come on." And I was there, and I was the defensive line GA with Corey Brown, who's still there. I was a defensive line GA, and I thought I knew football. I thought I was sweet. I didn't know a single thing about anything. I know that for sure. But then I had an opportunity to go to Davenport, and then yes, I ended up at Muskingum University, and I was the defensive coordinator at a Division III. And I tell you, I love Division III football because the kids love the game. They have to. It's just they truly love the football game. They're not getting NIL. They're not getting this. They're not getting that. They're just playing for one another. So I learned, and I would say those are my most important years because I learned, what I truly believed in. What was my why? What did I stand for? I could mess things up and people weren't looking. Trial by error. And just learn football as a whole, and then fast forward to get to Montana State and get back to where I'm more of an offensive guy, and it starts coming all together, and then you add in being with familiarity, being with Taylor, ties from Ohio, and being with Coach Vegan, who's got an umph amount of knowledge. It's unbelievable, and taking things from him. And next thing you know, you got a call and you're playing for a national title and you're moving your family across the country. So a lot of help, a lot of help.
That's that's a remarkable journey. And yeah, Coach Vegan has been a guest of this podcast before here on the Our Coaching Network. A really awesome visit with him last fall, and an exciting time for you guys in that program. So that was really cool to get to visit with him. So as you reflect back on that, and 5 years ago being a defensive coordinator at the NCAA D3 level, what did you take with you as from that time as a defensive coordinator that you think has helped you become the offensive coordinator you are today?
Well, I think, just the complexity and offenses nowadays as a defensive guy, so much communication goes in. What gave me fits, what gave us issues, motions, shifts, unbalance, misdirection, messing with our keys, just anything that gave us issues. I just make a little long binder. We're going to make sure we incorporate this somehow. We're going to make sure that we make defenses play left-handed, FIB. So when you look at our offense over the last couple of years, the complexity is in the presentation. We're running inside and outside zone. Our passing game is not this elaborate NFL passing game, but how we present it and the level at which our guys execute it. It's not what we do, how we do it consistently day in and day out. And the offense is an ecosystem. We want to create so much confusion with DNs in the back end and fits and force them to communicate. And we're trying to get our playmakers the ball in space, and we're trying to do that each and every way we possibly can. So being on the other side, what would I do here? What would our check be here? Well, I got a check here. I got a 3-4 push. Now the wheels got to match and all that different stuff. If we can do that at a high tempo, we can get our guys in space, try to force those defensive guys to do the hardest thing in football, and that's tackle dudes in space. And we try to create a bunch of it.
That's awesome. So I've got to ask then, and I've watched your offense a bunch from when Taylor was running it to you last year, and being able to visit with Coach Vegan. I told you my wife and I have spent quite a bit of time in Bozeman, so any excuse to tune into Montana State was a chance to tune into Bozeman where we love. But when you're creating that confusion, how delicate is the balance? How fine is the line between creating that confusion while also making sure you're still executing at a high level and not losing your offensive discipline in that process?
Well, I think it is because naturally, offensively, you want to create these elaborate, oh, this will be really cool. And you see a lot of other people do things, but then it's like, well, and I go back to, is it sound? Can we teach it and can they execute it? Does it play into what we're doing? And there's so many, we spend, the first guy, one of my GAs, he's got this research film, in-season research film. I'm buzzing through, I want to see what other people are doing. What am I missing? Are we missing something? Are they doing something to exploit a different coverage or a different fit? And you see these things, but at the end of the day, it's how can I get, for instance, for Tommy, how can we get Tommy or Ty or guys we're trying to get the football to, how can we get them in space and create a matchup at the same time? I don't want to force them to do more thinking. So how can we put it in the ecosystem and execute it at a high level? And then there is a fine line. But at the same time, I truly believe it comes back to the playbook's not that big.
Yeah.
The sprinkles, there's a lot. There's a lot of toppings. There's Oreos, peanuts, sprinkles, you name it. There's a bunch, but the fundamentals of what we do is pretty basic.
That's cool. So let's see. Your GA puts together that film, and you see something going through it in a week that you think, okay, we could add that. What's the process then? How long from where you see it on that GA film does it take you to help your offense implement it on the field?
Well, it's like it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing, I call them system cut ups, and you're watching these things, and let's for instance, Indiana did some really good stuff. Vandy does some really good stuff. You're like, okay, that's something we could potentially do against, they're playing a 3-down, match man team. Okay, so all of a sudden we got this 3-down match man team or this 4-down quarters team, and you're like, man, we can kind of do that. Well, we've already broke it down into our terminology and our verbiage. And if it plays into what we're doing, if it complements something we're doing, if it complements a run or protects one of our core plays, we'll incorporate it, whether that's a shift in emotion or, hey, they started FIB and hacked over and then they ran the play because it confused who had the man player. Now there's no one left for Tommy. Kind of a bunch of different answers, but we have these catalogs that we've already, and a lot of it's already, like I tell people, I'm not pretending to be this genius. There's a lot of smart people who have done all this stuff before. Well, why not utilize them? And then incorporate into what we're doing. So it's a very fluid process, I should say. It's not a spontaneous, oh, we saw that, let's put it in. Right. One of those things.
First-year Temple offensive coordinator Tyler Walker. I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com here on the Our Coaching Network podcast. I'm only going to keep you just a few more minutes, Coach. You've referenced Tommy a few times, so I've got to ask you, when did you at Montana State begin to realize how special he was, and what do you think the future holds for him?
We got there February 21, and didn't think much of him. He was a freshman, redshirt freshman coming in, unbelievably athletic, well-spoken, extremely smart, was willing to do anything, play receiver, running down. I mean, if you look back when he's running down on kickoffs, I mean, he's doing whatever we want him to do. His consistency and his drive to be, abnormally successful was evident, from that first spring ball on. And then as it, you keep going. And, the 22 season, we make it back to the semis, get beat by the South Dakota. Then we go to the 23 and we get beat in the second round. And, I love him as a human being. He's unbelievably humble, unbelievably thankful for things that he's been provided. But he's a great leader, great mentor to the younger guys. I think he's going to. I don't know where he's going to end up. Someone's going to give him a shot, and he can do just about anything. He's unbelievably explosive, athletic, football savvy. Regardless of what he do, he's probably going to be some president one day or something. But no, he's early on. We knew early on he was very, very special.
That's incredible. Really, one of the singular players in college football. Certainly, this decade, you could argue his impact for this century for what he did. Just such a joy to watch Tommy Mellott play and to see what he did, and just to see the winner that he was and the grit that he played with. So I'm excited. I hope he makes a 53 man. And you're right, he has that mentality, or it appears on TV he has the mentality that will allow him a chance to do whatever it takes to get a roster spot. All right, well, not too much time left here, Tyler. So I've got to ask you: you've made the transition from Bozeman to Philadelphia. Food you miss the most from Bozeman? How many cheesesteaks have you eaten already in Philadelphia?
Bozeman, the stuff I miss. Oh, bison pepperoni pizza, fantastic. There's no bison run around Philly, I can tell you that. And I've had way too many cheesesteaks. I think I've tried every one of them. They're all, I don't even know half of them. But yeah, I would say the bison pepperoni pizza out there in Bozeman. Love it. Love everything about Bozeman. So it's been good. I'm gonna keep eating cheesesteaks here in Philly.
And then I think that you actually started coaching high school football before you had even gotten finished up your college career. Is that right?
Yeah, I was I still had I was going from student teaching at Hamilton High School, and then I would go straight to Miami after, so I wasn't even graduated, and I had started, and that staff alone, that first year staff, Joe Bone was the GA with me. He's a DC at Buffalo. Israel Wolfork was a GA. He's a quarterback coach at Arizona State. And then Taylor obviously down at Jacksonville State now. So we got that staff alone. There's a lot of, and then Chuck and Breek and a lot of guys are still there. So it was a good start. Unbelievably thankful for those guys, and here we are.
So student teaching, running to Miami as a GA, doing whatever you could. So what's the wackiest job or the craziest thing you had to do early on in your career before you were an FBS offensive coordinator? What's the toughest or the craziest thing you had to do to make ends meet?
I what's the crazy thing? Well, we got let go at Davenport, so I was substitute teaching at Ken O'Shea Elementary in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was substitute teacher, long sub, and it was tough. So I wasn't too ashamed to eat the kids' school lunch. I mean, if there was an extra school lunch, I was going to eat that bad boy. So I ate a lot of chicken nuggets in my day, and a lot of fish sticks and fruit cups, and I did that for about 5 months before Muskingum.
That's pretty strong. See, from school, from cafeteria lunch trays to bison pepperoni to the best
Yeah,
steaks in the country. Tyler, you've been an awesome sport. Thanks so much for visiting with us today.
I appreciate it. Take care.
All right, that's Temple first-year offensive coordinator Tyler Walker. I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com. This has been the Our Coaching Network podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you the next time.